I'm Brooke Mackey, for those that don't remember me from last year, but all these faces look very familiar. So thanks for taking time out of your evening. I know this is a crazy busy time of year. Back to school events, we actually have Edwards Elementary and Homestake Peak School tonight, so we're missing a lot of parents from that, but looking to reschedule, it just didn't seem like any other date was really going to be good for everybody. So thank you for being here. So our Parents Engaging Parents program, we met in January. You were nominated either by fellow parents, the principals in your school, teachers, for the actively involved parent that you are. So basically we created this program just to kind of reinforce what you're already doing. It's not to add one other thing to your plate. It's basically just to give you an official title, really kind of create more positive links between all the parents in our district and the students and staff. So the summary of your role as an ambassador is up here. I don't need to read it to you, but the biggest things for us is that we are wanting to arm you with accurate information that's going on in the district. We also want to utilize you as a resource in the community to tap the rumor mill where there might be misinformation that we need to correct from a district perspective. And then just really advocate for us in the community, you know, and you already volunteer in your schools, but how can we recruit additional involvement in schools, which is always a tough one, Kelly. So the theme is just parents engaging parents. And how does this work? We wanted to really touch base with you guys at the beginning of the year because ideally this is something that we roll out at the beginning of the year. Karen Simon, who is a June Creek parent, helped me spearhead the program last year and it's still helping me immensely. We just didn't want to wait until this year to get the ball rolling, so that's why we kind of introduced it in January. It's kind of a goofy time of year, but we hope to touch base with you guys at the beginning of every year. And so it's just an estimated, 1 to 2 hour training at the beginning of the year, touch base, and then your ongoing program commitments of just volunteering, communicating with me if you're hearing anything out in the community, and just your typical volunteering that, again, you already do. Our commitment to you is to provide you with up-to-date information. I was talking with a couple parents beforehand. What I tried to do last year was email some of the news items to all of your individual email addresses. I also created the wiki so that it was kind of a place where we could archive information. It didn't really get used for the discussion component, though I think that it could go that direction to make it more interactive with you parents. But if it's as is working for everybody, then that works for me too. So whatever. I'm open to feedback. This is a new program, so it's evolving over time, and I'm definitely happy to make changes where we need to. And most of you guys have already filled out your volunteer applications online and done your fingerprints. So after that, it's really just beginning volunteering and then communicating issues of concern to me that we can then have a dialogue through email, phone if we need to. If we need to do a mid-year meeting, I'm happy to do that as well. With an end goal, really, we want one parent at each grade at each school. We actually have, I think our membership right now is about 75 parents. So we have every school represented, not every grade level, but this program's really good for the start that we're having. So I'm pleased with it. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Smizer, who's our superintendent. She wanted to kind of give you an update on where we are in the district today. Our CFO, Phil Onofrio, is going to chime in as well and kind of touch base on some of our financial information. Then we're going to break, and for those of you that want to leave, that was kind of our piece of this meeting in terms of updating you on the district. Louise Funk is going to stop by to talk more mill levy specific stuff. And that is, you do not need to be here for that. That is separate from our presentation for you here today. So just wanted to make that clear. So thanks.
Okay, well, I want to echo Brooke's thanks for being willing to do this. And I think for some of you who don't have much time to do volunteer work, at least you can be conduits of information. Because we know that all of you are networkers and you each have your sphere of people that you know. I can't tell you how helpful it is to us to know that we have 75 people that we can send information out to when we hear something's up. We were just talking that it's amazing to us sometimes what people don't know, and I'm sure you encounter that in your schools as well, that sometimes the most basic information we're surprised that people don't know. We heard from several people that we were bulldozing Minturn Middle School, for example, which we did not do. We have no intention of doing. But we bulldozed Meadow Mountain, and for people down Valley who aren't sure which schools those are anyway, it's an easy thing to see how they got confused. But things like that where we have no idea that information is going around, and so you are so helpful in helping us to clear that up. So my main purpose today is, besides thanking you, is to tell you about what's up in our district in terms of things that we're proud of. And I think that, I hope that after this short presentation you'll have a better sense of why we are so enthused and motivated about what we're doing right now, because we think that we are pretty darn impressive, and we believe that the community really does not know that. So I'm going to arm you with some information that you can feel free to share. First of all, public education is being bashed across the country right now. Teachers specifically are being bashed as like the root of all evil for some reason, and there's a lot of education reform proposals out there that have to do with fixing a completely destroyed system that doesn't function at all. And that's not what's happening here, which isn't to say that we are perfect, but we certainly have, in many ways, led the pack in actually transforming public education and trying to deal with some of the issues that nationwide school districts are struggling with. And so I'm going to show you some of what we are up to. First of all, our goal is to get uncommon results from kids. The public school system is set up pretty much so that if you know the parent's income or the zip code of where a child lives, you can pretty much predict their school achievement. You know, those who come to school ready to learn do okay, and those who come to school not ready to learn don't do okay. And that is just happening across the country. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to break that pattern, and we're trying to figure out ways to get uncommon results for every different kind of kid that we have. So we're looking at our GT, gifted and talented kids, and we're saying, how can we push them even higher? We're looking at our high achievers and saying, how can we push them higher? We're looking at our English learners and saying, wow, how can we help them catch up? We're looking at our special ed kids, and not to be forgotten, we're looking at our average kids in the middle and saying, how do we not focus on all these kids with special needs and ignore the kids in the middle? And it is an incredible challenge. I will tell you, it's not easy. And that's part of the reason why it doesn't happen in most schools. The attempts on the part of a teacher to really individualize and give kids what they need is so challenging that a lot of people just don't even attempt it. I will also tell you that there are a lot of places and a lot of people who believe that the common results of public education is the only result that's actually possible. And they just really don't believe that kids in poverty can work at grade level. So we've spent a lot of time in the last few years listening to experts whose goal is to do research on this type of topic and find methods that work. And we are carefully choosing our district strategies around proven best practices in other places in the country. And I will tell you, there's not very many. There are some who are pulling it off, and we are trying to imitate those practices that have shown to work. So I think we're making really good progress, actually. So if you look at this chart, just pay attention to the top line first. The top line is everyone in the district in one pot, and anyone who takes the CSAP, so that's 3rd through 10th grade, their reading scores since 2002. So you'll see that for a long time they were flat. I will tell you, I don't have the demographic data for that flat period there, but we do know that the demographics in the district were changing drastically during that time. We were getting more and more children in poverty and more children who did not speak English. So as a testament to the district, as the demographics were changing, the scores did not drop. So that may not look like a big accomplishment, to stay flat, but it actually was. Then if you look here, we had a dip 4 or 5 years ago. And since that time, the overall district scores have steadily climbed. So they've gone from 64 to 72% of kids proficient or advanced. So that's percent of kids in the whole district that are at grade level or above, 72. Meanwhile, the bottom line is just these are not test scores on the bottom. This is just our demographic trends, just poverty. So if you'll look at what's been happening to our children in poverty, since 2007, they've gone from 28% of our kids living in poverty to 41%. And I heard an estimate for this year we may hit 50. 50% of our kids living in poverty. So if you look at from 2007 on, those lines do not make sense. That your poverty is increasing dramatically and your test scores are too. That, my friends, is uncommon results. What is common is as the bottom line goes up, the top line comes down. That's what public education produces in this country. We are not. We're doing better than that. Now, why do I think the first reason why I think that is happening is that a decade ago, this district took a very bold step and started focusing on teachers. All research points to one reason, the most important reason a child does well, whatever kind of child they are, is the teacher in the classroom. They're the most important person in the district. And so this district actually blew the whole thing up. I wasn't here. Some accounts describe it as a nuclear bomb. And blew up the teacher salary schedule. Blew up the whole system of how teachers are evaluated and trained. And our system is very impressive. We believe, the first district in the country to abolish the lockstep salary schedule for teachers and add performance pay. Now, 10 years later, the whole country is banging that drum. The whole country thinks this is what we need to do. And the state of Colorado is a leader in the nation in that. Last year, SB 191 was passed in Colorado, which effectively eliminates tenure for a teacher who is demonstrated to be ineffective for multiple years in a row. So it's not an automatic thing, but after multiple years of being ineffective, they can lose their tenure status. Now that law doesn't go into effect completely for another couple years. I was selected to be the one superintendent from the state to sit on the state council to design what Colorado's system would look like for teacher evaluation. So guess what? It looks a lot like Eagle County. I had someone contact me on Twitter just a few weeks ago. By the way, Sandra Smizer on Twitter. Follow me. I'm at 190 some. I'm shooting for 200 followers. So I had a district in Tennessee contact me and say that they had just adopted Eagle County Schools teacher evaluation system. Last year we held a nationwide conference. We had people from 12 states come to learn from us. So we are, without a doubt, national leaders in teacher evaluation and development. Now I will tell you that most of the education reform people who are out there are talking about getting rid of the bad teachers, getting rid of tenure, getting rid of people who shouldn't be in the classroom, and rewarding those who are exceptional. It doesn't seem fair to most people that everybody gets paid the same no matter how good they are. Okay, so across the country, that's the motive. Here in Eagle County, our motive is to deal with the middle. Yes, we do deal with the tails of the distribution, but most teachers in the country are in the middle. They're not the exceptionally great ones, and they're not the terrible ones. They're just teachers who are working really hard and would like to get better at what they do. And so our system is designed with master teachers, mentor teachers, a lot of coaching, and a lot of evaluation. So what have we done? Well, over the last 10 years, we have shifted the distribution to the right. Our teachers actually are all above average, almost. This is the distribution of our teachers. Our rubric that we use to evaluate teachers is 42 pages long. It's intense, and teachers are evaluated by multiple people, multiple times every year. In most of the country, teachers are evaluated in 1 hour by their principal once every 2 or 3 years. And the mark is, yeah, okay, or not okay. It's a one-pager. I used to work under that system. You get absolutely no helpful feedback and no coaching of any kind, no help. So look at our distribution. Meets expectations is a very high standard. That is what we consider the minimum acceptable for teachers, and it is a high standard. 39% of our teachers are there. 11% commendable. High performing, another 31%, and another 13% topping out our system. We have amazing teachers. But just improving the quality of teachers alone has not solved some of the problems that we have. But it gives us this incredibly powerful workforce to attack the issues that we deal with and try to come up with really uncommon results. So what has happened is that we have become nationally famous for our whole system, not just the pay part, but the masters and the mentors. And recently the state of Iowa held an education summit about how are they going to turn their education system around as a state, because they've been slipping and slipping. They used to be like one of the premier in the nation. Iowa Test Basic Skills, remember, came from Iowa. And they're just not up there anymore. And so Arnie Duncan, who is the Secretary of Education for the feds, went out and gave them the keynote speech. And in that keynote speech, he talked about one district, Eagle County Schools. He used us as an example for the whole state of what could be done to develop and train and motivate and help teachers be the best they can possibly be. So, and that, of course, went out nationally, that speech, and we got a lot of national attention from that speech. So how are we doing? The top, these are 2 sets of test scores. These are children not in poverty and children in poverty, okay, is the bottom line. And these are their reading scores. This is everybody lumped into one bucket, all grade levels, all schools. Over the past 4 years, you can see that our children not in poverty have increased their overall reading scores from 77% of kids proficient or advanced at grade level to 83%. That's a significant jump in just 4 years. Meanwhile, our kids in poverty have increased from 42% to 54%. That's huge. And that is our goal, is we don't want to help one group at the expense of the other. And we don't want to teach to the middle because we believe it'll hurt both groups. So we really have to try to individualize and give kids what they need as much as we possibly can. So our gap between those two groups in reading has decreased from 35% down to 29%, which in the stats world is a highly significant change in test scores. Math is lower scores in both groups, but you see the top kids have gone from 59 to 71. That's a significant change. And 35 to 47 for our kids in poverty. This gap is more persistent. It's hovering at around the same level. We haven't been able to close the gap, but both groups are significantly going up. And writing, the gap is the largest, which makes sense because so many of our children in poverty are also English learners, and writing is the very hardest thing for them to learn. And so they've come up a full 10 percentage points over the last 4 years, while our non-poverty kids have gone up 11. So same thing here, the gap is really persistent and difficult to close. But we're making a lot of progress, and I will tell you that this shows that having your child in a class or in a grade level or in a school with kids that are not doing well is not hurting the top kids. They're continuing to go up. So we're really proud of this data, and we're not satisfied. I mean, we still have a long way to go. We have a long way to go for our top kids and for all kids in general, but we're working hard at it. So one of the things that we've done last year is we worked on curriculum. We worked on adding rigor to our curriculum. And this kind of started with high schools, where we did a study a couple years ago and said that we're just not working our kids hard enough. They can do more. All of our kids can do more. Top kids can do more. Our kids that are struggling can do more. And we're not asking enough from them. I will tell you that one of the strengths of this district is how much the teachers care about their kids. They really love their kids. And I think sometimes they love them too much. Because we don't want to have the "oh, sweetie" thing going on, because that stuff's not going to work when kids graduate and they don't have the skills they need to compete in the workforce. We have to push them hard enough so that they really are ready. Just giving them credit for a class gets them a diploma, but what does that diploma mean if they don't have the skills behind it? So we really started looking at the high school and how can we add rigor. At the same time, nationally, the new Common Core standards came out. Colorado adopted the standards, which are a much higher level of rigor, and then Colorado adapted them a little bit, added a lot of 21st century stuff. I really love Colorado standards. And so last year we had 62 teachers working, rewriting our district curriculum from pre-K through 12th grade in the 4 subject areas, in social studies, science, math, and language arts. So all of our and they're all based on the new rigorous curriculum, and so all of our teachers are learning how to use it for the first time this year. Each one comes with, each unit, they wrote 350 units based on rigor, and they wrote pre and post tests for every unit. And we have this snazzy tech system that is rolling out where as soon as those test results are scanned in, the teacher can automatically see the kids grouped into group by standard. Like if you want to reteach a standard, it'll show you exactly which kids didn't get that standard on the test and which kids did, so that you can separate them. It's saving the teachers a lot of time. They're just learning how to use it now. This whole year will be a process of learning. But it's an amazing system. Maybe in a future meeting we can demo it for you. It is, we followed, like I said earlier, we were looking at organizations who really specialize and do research in how do you get uncommon results from kids. And they go in and they study places who are getting them, and they do really good research. This group is called Leadership and Learning. It's Doug Reeves's group, if you've ever heard of him. They're a nationally recognized group that does really quality research and staff development. So they are the ones that trained our trainers here in our district on how to develop this curriculum. And they have been so impressed. This is the last issue of their magazine. The next one that comes out will feature Eagle County Schools on the cover. And then they decided that their little magazine article wasn't enough. They decided that they have a place on their website where they write white papers about best practices and schools and districts that are doing amazing things. And so they have already written the first draft of they're going to put a white paper on their website about Eagle County Schools curriculum work. And we're actually been talking to them because the trainer that goes around and does the training about how to develop curriculum like this has never seen anybody do it to the quality that our group did. And so they're actually looking at possibly publishing it. So that we could get a little cash back from all the work that everybody did. So now we're getting national attention around curriculum work. So we have in place this amazing teacher evaluation and development system, which I'm not saying is perfect, but is so far beyond everybody else that people are awed by it. Now we've got this amazing curriculum based around the Common Core standards, and part of that curriculum is using what we call the formative assessment process, which is pre and post tests where kids can actually see, this is where I'm at, this is where I need to go, this is the specific skill I need to work on to get better. Well, as you know, several years ago, all the states applied for Race to the Top federal money, huge billions of dollars going out to education, and it was to push reform and to push places to try to figure out solutions to some of the issues we all face in public education. And so most people across the country felt like Colorado, Louisiana, and Kentucky got gypped. Everyone thought that these 3 states should have gotten some of the money, especially with the legislation that Colorado just passed. And so they were shocked that Colorado didn't get any of the money. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, about 18 months ago, started looking at those 3 states and saying, how can we support the reform and the improvements that they're trying to do without federal money? How can Bill and Melinda Gates help? So there's a group called the Colorado Legacy Foundation, which, just like we have local foundations, it's a foundation that sits next to the Department of Ed. And it's designed to try to help the state do things that the Department of Ed can't do. I actually sit on the board of that foundation, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation started talking to them about this idea that they had. So they said, we want you to pick 4 districts that represent different types of, different sizes of districts. And we need them to have incredible leadership capacity and incredible capacity on the part of their teachers. And we want to study that district and help them over 3 years' time figure out how all those things go together. And the 3 things they wanted to go together were new Common Core standards based on rigor, teacher evaluation systems, and using formative assessments. So Heather and I looked at each other and said, well, that's us. We're already doing all that stuff. So they came up, and after a very brief interview, we were awarded this grant. So for the next 3 years, we'll be working with them, and some Harvard researchers are assigned the job from Gates to actually do research on our district and figure out how we're doing things. So so we're excited. We are extremely proud. I mean, we really do believe that the things that the country is calling for that need to be fixed in public education, we're way down the road of trying to figure out how to fix them. We haven't gotten there yet, but this district is an exciting place to be, and the teachers are amazing. And when you say, wow, we've got this problem, everybody puts their head together and tries to solve the problem. So I'm just really proud to be here. And I'm excited about what the future will hold. We have every expectation that our scores will continue to go up and that we will even continue to get more and more national attention. So I wanted you to know that, because I think that these are things the average person just doesn't even know, because the people in the education world know it, but our communities don't really know. Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming during the staff training, well, you went over all this with the staff too, so they weren't involved in the processes of person.
And actually, our staff training at the beginning of the year was 2 full-on days of working with the curriculum, learning how to use it, every teacher at every grade level. Yeah. So we're excited. I hope you're proud. I hope your kids are doing well. If they're not, be loud and squeaky. Seriously. Let people know specifically what your issues are, because this really is a group of people that will try and solve problems.
Is the curriculum something that you can look at?
Yes, probably the best thing to do would be to get you a couple samples. And to be clear about the curriculum, there are places in the country that have what I call teacher-proof curriculum. We're going to buy a book and it's got a script in it. And every monkey can stand up. I mean, it's just terrible. It's insulting to teachers to give them something. We actually had a new teacher this year who said that her district in California had what they called the minute police, because they would walk in at 10 minutes after the hour. They knew what page you were supposed to be. Yeah. So there are places who are trying to solve this problem by scripting the move of every teacher, thinking that somehow that's going to work. Well, maybe if you have terrible teachers who have no idea what they're doing, maybe that's an improvement. And in some places, maybe that's the case. With our teachers, it's so insulting. So what we said was, yes, we're going to tell you what to teach. We're going to tell you what the unit is, what the standards are you have to cover, and we're going to show you how it's going to be measured on these tests. Now go. Because what we're not telling them is how to teach it. So they're already getting together in groups, and they're designing their own lessons, and they're thinking, oh, I can use part of this book and part of this book. On our website, with the curriculum, where the curriculum is listed, they can load resources as they find them and say, I use this, it was perfect. And so across the district, all 3rd grades and all second year math in high school are teaching the same unit right now. So what does that mean? That means that they can all collaborate, It means that the specialists who work with them know what's going on in the classroom. They may not know what the lesson is, but they know what the goal is. And it also means that we're holding everybody to the same standard. My background was special education, and I can tell you that if you put me in a room with kids with special needs, I will go in with the best of intentions to hold the highest standard. And after a while, I will move towards their ability level, because it's easier to teach. It's just natural. You know, you see where they need to come, and so you move towards them to pull them this way, but you never quite get to the end. And what we're doing is we're holding the same standard for everybody. And then what's happening is our specialists and our other people and our grouping and all the different ways that people have to try to help kids reach that standard are pumping into high gear. We also have kids who on the first CFA got several of the standards all right before they were ever taught them. And the teachers can see that instantly. We had one anecdote from a teacher who said, out of my class, one particular class, they said, I have 4 kids who didn't know that standard. Everybody else did. In the past, I might have looked at them and I might have thought, well, I got to reteach. We're saying, no way, we're moving on, and I'm going to grab those 4 kids and reteach. And she didn't have to figure that out. It was just right there in front of her. So people who are learning to use it are really happy.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Spicer?
Well, thank you all for what you're doing. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually take a break so that if you don't want to talk about the campaign, you can leave. I'm going to leave. Phil's officially off the clock. So he's going to talk to you about the mill levy campaign and give you some good information about, you know, what the dollar amounts are, what the board wants to do with the money if it passes, and just talk to you in general. So you're welcome to stay or not to stay, whichever you prefer. Okay? Thank you.
Sandra.
Yeah.